Billionaires are wrong. Universal basic income is not the solution. And I'm gonna tell you why. What are the 5 reasons why that concept that believes that everyone around the world can just receive money while robots and artificial intelligence work, it's the future? They're wrong. Especially the billionaires, Elon Musk, Sam Altman, and all the people that are building the amazing artificial intelligence technology that we're using. They always said, yes, this is gonna increase the wealth for everyone around the world and it's gonna be beautiful and all flowers. But they don't tell you many things. My name is Francisco. I'm a PhD researcher in asset tokenization, and I published a book called Be the Robots in 2017, talking about the implications of artificial intelligence in the future. I have even interviewed experts on universal basic income. And today I'm going to focus on why I believe the billionaires know, but they don't want to tell us because it's kind of ugly. So let's start with the concept. It's very simple. What about if we just give money to someone so they can survive? That's the reason they call it universal basic income. And universal, it will mean that it doesn't matter if you're rich, poor, or what do you work, everyone around a nation will get the money. Let's use an example. Let's suppose that in the US, everyone gets a universal basic income. That would mean 300 million Americans getting money every month. But the number one question is, how much is the minimum? It's not the same as living in California and San Francisco that living in Oregon. It's not the same buying eggs in Washington, D.C. than in Miami, Florida. There are different conditions. So it's not the same that you're gonna get the money in one state or another. So that's the number one problem. How do you know what is the minimum? And I have seen some crazy people that go to very high numbers, of course, depending on the quality of life that they have. I know, have you heard about that guy that is just having like 12 kids and he has to send money to all his kids, but his ex-wives are just asking like $20,000 per month just to sustain their style? Come on, that's freaking crazy. But that's the reality. For them, for those women, the minimum is $20,000. But for someone that is just starting their life in Connecticut, well, $1,000 could be enough for one person. But what about if he has a family? Well, that's where the universality comes. Let's say it's a family of husband, wife, and 2 children. Will you get money equally for husband and wife? And then will you get money for the children? How do you calculate that? It's very complicated. But this goes even beyond. Because a lot of these people, when you see here and hear them, for example, Masayoshi Son from SoftBank talking with Sam Altman from OpenAI, they say, it's because we're going to bring AI for everyone around the world. This will create unlimited wealth for everyone around the world. Think about when they say everyone. Now, let's see the elephant in the room. Can you see the elephant? The elephant is simple. Just think about the US compared to relationships with other countries. The US has Make America Great Again, the MAGA. One of the key things was, if you don't like the way that we're doing things, we're gonna put you taxes, international taxes or tariffs. And that's what the trade war comes. And I have covered that in other videos. So Trump says, I don't want Mexican goods. Let's put you 25%. I don't want Canadian goods. Let's put you another 25%. Or what he did with the Colombian president, he said, you didn't receive the airplane. I'm going to put you 25% today and another 25, so it's going to be 50% on Colombian goods. And just like this, not even take into account that there have been agreements and not even take into account that these are allies, like literally. I'm talking about the US and their 2 partner countries. So even if the US is right now reacting with their neighbors, which they provide a lot of economic development for the US workforce. And for example, Canada has fought in all the wars with the US. And the reaction is no, let's gonna make America great again. What about the counter argument? Some people say, no, but Elon Musk, he's going to every country and asking every country to be great again. And then Elon Musk goes there and says, oh, let's make Europe great again. Okay, that sounds good, but check the problem. In one side, you're having Trump saying, we're making America great again, and if you don't agree with me, as he said it in Davos, I'm just going to put taxes on you. Tariffs, big tariffs. And then Elon Musk goes to Germany, to the far right, and says, hey, empower yourselves and go back and use the power. But we're going to put tariffs on you. Or, as Trump will said, now you have to pay more money for your NATO contribution. So that's what it shows. That at the end, when billionaires are discussing universal basic income at a global level, they're just taking away one of the most important things in life. You know what is it? Geopolitics. And there are countries and people that literally hate each other. Just think about the Palestinians and the Israelis. They cannot even live together. Just think about the Indians and the Pakistanis. They even developed the nuclear weapons program just to be on par so no one can just kill the other one. And I'm not even talking about the Koreans with North Korea and South Korea. But I'm not even talking about the sanctions that US especially puts to other countries such as Iran, Sudan, or what George Bush called the axis of evil. Well, Trump has said that if you don't support his way, as Bush said, you're against them. Therefore, you're going to face the consequences. Now, when the universal basic income discussion comes to the world, we can have the United Nations. But the United Nations are so bad at most things. Actually, they're pretty bad at even negotiating key elements, such as human rights violations or how to dismantle nuclear weapons. They have not been able to do that. So, do you expect the nuclear arsenal just to be handled because someone wants to do things? You expect the United Nations just to change things? No, they can't. Why? Another reason. I come from Colombia. Therefore, my passport is not very strong. That's the reason my plan in life is to get also a better passport. So I'm a Colombian, but also I will get another passport that is stronger, possible European. Because with that, then, is different experience. I don't know if you come from a developing country, but when you go to a developed country, I've been many times. I lived in the US, I lived in Germany, I lived in Denmark. I live in many places and I work in all these places around the world. But I know how in some countries they just, even though I'm a highly educated person, I'm doing my PhD, guys. I have master's degree. I have created companies. I built things around the world. The MIT recognized me as innovator. So even though with that, as soon as they see that you come from other country, you're not treated equal as a human being as we should be. But they don't want that. So now imagine that. We have reached that moment of the advanced general superintelligence, and now is the time to define the universal basic income. Do you think the universal basic income is the same from someone from Singapore than someone from El Salvador? No. The conditions, the economy are totally different. Therefore, thinking about a universal global basic income is technically impossible because they like to fight to each other, they don't want even to open their borders, even for people that have knowledge and they want to migrate in a better way. I'm not talking about illegal guys, I'm talking about the highly educated individuals that like to contribute to society. So even us, we face a lot of issues. Now think about that. Let's put the concept of universal basic income for everyone. No, it's not possible. Okay? So geopolitics will demonstrate that is not possible. Therefore, they're just lying. Blatant lies to everyone around the world. What is going to happen? So now let's check all the other elements. Because, okay, let's say, okay, it's not going to be a global universal basic income, it's going to be only the big countries. Okay, but who are the big countries and who's going to win in this, as Palantir's CTO called, a war? Well, I have to tell you guys something. As Kai Fu said in his book Superpowers, there are only two nations around the world that are capable of advanced artificial intelligence. And not because they just have talent. No, they have talent, money, and government commitment. So you need these three things. Because most countries around the world, they have talent. They have amazing, genius people that can do incredible things. Do you know that when Alexander Graham Bell was inventing the phone, the communication systems, another person around the world were doing the same? You know that Guglielmo Marconi, when he was building his system in Italy, there was another guy in Cuba also building that system? Yes. Knowledge is distributed. Talent is everywhere. But money and conditions to access the money, that's the problem. Because if you check the numbers, most countries, they have money, they have resources, they have an economy, but they have terrible governments. I'm so worried about some countries that they don't even want to have interesting discussions about how to create wealth, because that's what you need. Create wealth for your citizens. So if these countries don't have the commitment, and the rich people in these countries are not investing in research and development and technology, what do you think will happen? That's the reason Kai Fu Lee says that only the US and China are the only superpowers in artificial intelligence. And we can see it. Just check around, guys. The challenge is between ChatGPT and DeepSeek. It's between Google Gemini and Baidu. Is between Cloud and Quen from Alibaba. That's it. Sometimes they're great companies such as Mistral that comes from France, and it really comes from a process where Xavier Niel, the billionaire, the French billionaire, said, okay, I want to put money and I help you and let's just raise 500 million. Or you have a gold company like Aleph Alpha in Germany, in the region of Baden-Württemberg, that has been receiving money from SAP so they can build their own large language model. Well, when I was in Morocco in a conference, I literally told them, as soon as ChatGPT 4.0 was launched, I said, guys, you need to implement large language model locally so you can use the local language and knowledge. And now with open source, we can do that. That's the incredible thing. We can do it at a cheaper price. It's incredible. I just running experiments all the time. But then, if only the US and China are leading, and as Palantir said, you know, this is a war, what is going to happen in this war? Think about this. Well, we can see the announcements. The crypto czar from Trump has said, this is a war with China, therefore we're going to implement some things. Things like restricting access to Chinese large language models, restricting access to knowledge from China, restricting access to capital from China. And then just put a multipolar world, as Mr. Rubio has said, that countries, they will need to adapt, because most countries, and maybe you don't know it, but because these billionaires, they live in their bubble of going between San Francisco, Washington, D.C., and then just going into the jet, they don't understand the reality of the people that walk. You know, they don't get it. They always think that the mega AI will fix everything for everyone. But it's like, Who do they talk all the time? Even Elon Musk joked with Paul Graham, the founder of Y Combinator, because Paul Graham, that he lives in England, was saying, some people are concerned about Elon Musk. And Elon Musk says, well, I don't believe you have talked with common people in England. And that's the point. Like, the people that are creating the most advanced technologies that we have seen are totally disconnect from the people that they're creating the technologies to. That's the problem. So when you're just disconnected, you just think as a techno-capitalist that technology by itself will fix the market by itself will fix things. I gotta tell you, you're wrong. You're extremely wrong. Because even internally, in regions, for example, and that's what Polivier, which is going to be the next prime minister, said, the region of Ontario should not be fighting with another region. They should be collaborating. So even though regions within the countries are going to fight to access to the resources, so at the end, what is going to happen? And I was just reading someone that says, translators are finished. And it's true. Like, man, why do you study to be a translator? Maybe only for national security purposes, or like to keep spying to other countries, or to do like real life translations so you cannot just misstep things. But most translators will disappear, and that will happen with many professions. But then, if the wealth is concentrated on the companies that are the best in AI and in robotics, most of the world will fail in that, and people will need money, and that's the reason they will go to China or to the US to build infrastructure. Because remember, guys, we still need a lot of infrastructure in developing countries. Actually, the US is not pretty good in their train system. They don't even have train system. But that's the whole point. Therefore, the multipolarity of just dividing people is gonna increase the problems, and therefore if you just put sanctions, then you will have the good countries and the bad countries, which I think is wrong. And that's where the concept of the universal basic income being universal completely fails. But now let's talk about the studies that they have shown on universal basic income. They did a study in the US with 150 people and they give them $500. They did a study in Finland for 2 years with unemployed. They give them almost $2,000. What were the results of the studies? Well, everyone expected that when you get money, you will do more interesting things. Well, I have to tell you, not a lot of people are like us. I freaking love to work a lot. I research all the time. I work, I write, I build things. And the more time I have, I will use it working and building stuff. But most people don't, and that's what the studies have shown. So therefore, you're just creating a society, and that's what the results of the studies have shown, that, okay, I'm getting money, that's enough, So it changes a big element of humans, which is that we crave for more, and we want to scale, and we want to provide to our kids, and we want to provide to our family. And we live in a hyper competitive world. And now it's not even starting with the people that are doing Fiverr or Upwork, guys. Yes, the millions of freelancers that starting to be replaced right now with this AI. So the process was, you had jobs in the US and Europe. Then you outsource them to India, to Philippines, to Pakistan, to Bangladesh. Then platforms were created such as Fiverr and Upwork, and then people from Latin America started to offer their services. But now, with large language models, the people that create the companies, and I have seen is Americans, Chinese, and I'm seeing Europeans and some Latin Americans and from other nations of Asia building startups. These startups, they don't generate a lot of jobs. So yeah, the founders, they will make more money. Yeah, that's right. Because now, literally, I got a message from someone that says, man, they're going to fire me because now with the deep research function that was launched by OpenAI that you just pay $200 per month, I can do more than your job. Which I think was the mistake of the type of job that he was having. Because now you can give him the tool and he can outperform, correct? And that's what I wrote in my book, Beat the Robots, which I'm planning to do a second edition, because with all the changes of large language models, it's incredible. But then the issue comes is like, if you concentrate power, again, more in the US, more in China, and in these startup entrepreneurs, what will happen with local governments? How do you think they're gonna give the money for the universal basic income if their companies are going bankrupt because they're being outperformed from AI-based companies in the US, Europe, or anywhere around the world? Remember that the concept of universal basic income is like we need to give money to everyone, but where does the money will come from? The money normally comes from taxes, and taxes comes from people paying taxes and companies paying taxes. So you have less companies paying taxes and less people paying taxes, you have less money for the government. Therefore, how do you plan to pay something that will cost between 20 to 30% of the GDP of each country? It's madness, correct? And that's the world that we're building. That's it. This is undeniable. This is going to happen, my friends. So you have to analyze and think what kind of industries, no matter how much advances AI and robotics, will still need humans, and what are the opportunities. And those are the things that I will leave for another video. So let me know in the comments below, what is your opinion on universal basic income, my friends? Thank you very much, and thanks for following.